Hey, this is Patrick Curtis, CEO and founder of Wall Street Oasis. Got another great chat today with Madav. Madav is a sophomore at Villanova. He ended up landing an offer at Evercore, so obviously an amazing outcome. Listen to specifically how he leveraged Academy and how he had a little bit of a unique strategy in terms of what he did after interviews, but more importantly, which firms he targeted. Enjoy. All right, Madav, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to do it.
It'd be awesome if you could just give the listeners a short kind of summary bio, where you're from, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so originally I'm from San Jose, California, but right now I go to Villanova University over just outside of Philadelphia, and I'm studying applied quantitative finance here.
Awesome. Okay, so talk to me a little bit about just, why Villanova, when you got there, why quant finance is a pretty tough major, probably. There's a lot of probably finance majors, econ majors that end up going into finance and they do just fine. Talk to me a little bit about kind of that decision and yeah.
Yeah, I guess first of all, why Villanova? Honestly, for me, I just wanted to go to a good business school, and I wanted to go somewhere that wasn't in California because I've lived in California my whole life. But yeah, that's why I chose Villanova. And then specifically quant finance, like it's a track here that you have to join after your freshman year, so you have to apply for it and get into it. And basically, the guy who runs it here, his name is Mr. Padavano, and he has a lot of experience on Wall Street, and obviously, what comes with that is a lot of connections on Wall Street. So I just figured that it would be the best resource for me to use to like put myself in a position to get a great banking gig. So I really wanted to do that after I learned about it freshman year, and then I joined the program, and I was able to get a lot of access to a lot of resources I wouldn't have if I wasn't in the program.
Awesome. So talk to me a little bit about just like when you got there freshman year, did you know like finance? Did you know what investment banking was even back then, or was it like something you were just discovering?
Yeah, I mean, I remember I always like had known about the term investment banking. If I don't, I definitely didn't know exactly what it was, like what it actually entailed. But I kind of realized I wanted to do it around, I guess, the beginning of my sophomore year. Like my freshman year and freshman summer, I had honestly no idea what I wanted to do at all. And then my sophomore year, I learned a little bit more about what it actually was, and I decided to try to start pursuing it.
Awesome. And you kind of joined, like when you started kind of going through learning more about it, I assume you maybe came across Wall Street Oasis then and the Academy then. Talk to me a little bit about the decision. You had that program on campus. Talk to me about the decision of like deciding, hey, you know what, I'm gonna do more training, financial modeling, all that stuff, do the boot camps. Talk about the decision of like why come into Academy when you had obviously some pretty good resources.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me was that I remember when I was kind of networking my fall semester, my sophomore year, and like talking to just people in my immediate network, I was able to talk to one family friend who worked at KKR, and he had gone to Wharton, and which is obviously like the biggest target school you could possibly be.
Mhm.
And I talked to him, and I showed him my resume, and he said, "Yeah, like I really like pretty much like your all your resume stuff, like whatever it is, but." The only issue is that you don't have any like actual um, physical, like hard finance experience. And he suggested that I look at something like Wall Street Oasis, and that's kind of how I found out about Wall Street Oasis, and then I decided that it was a good fit for me, and it was going to put me in. I wanted to hold no bars and put myself in absolutely the best possible situation just to maximize my chances of getting the offer I wanted to get. So I think that Wall Street Oasis really did that for me.
So you kind of came in sophomore year, and for some people, they'd argue, even us, we'd argue it's a little bit like late to know, like not having the finance internship, all that stuff. So you're kind of coming in, you're learning on the fly a little bit. Uh,
Yeah.
Join the program. I assume you did the resume review at the gate. How else did you leverage us? Was it like mostly coursework, or did you come to any boot camps, any of that stuff?
Yeah, I did one of the boot camps, and I think the way I leveraged Wall Street Oasis most was definitely just talking to the mentors and like asking about just like small little details. Like I remember um, one of the things I think that set me apart in my super day was that I wrote handwritten letters to the interviewers like afterwards, and I handed them in, and I got like good, pretty positive feedback on that, and that was something that had like been said to me before, but I didn't really kind of, I guess, believe it until I spoke to some of the mentors and they said like, yeah, like that's a very good idea. You should definitely do that.
That's cool. Yeah. And talk to me a little bit about just like the numbers and in terms of like networking and then yeah, let's start with networking. So did you start kind of ramping that up late freshman year or was it really fall sophomore year? Kind of when you were on campus busy with classes. Did you like how many firms or people did was it like 20 people, 50 people? What would you say is like the range?
Yeah, I think I talked to probably in the range of like 60 to 70 people total, and it was all my sophomore fall and sophomore spring. But yeah, I don't know. I guess like firm wise, my strategy, like especially coming from Villanova, like a non-target, was that like certain banks like BMO and MUFG are like they do interviews on campus, and like also like the balls brackets like will take a few kids every year. So my whole strategy was okay, like if if most kids at Villanova are going to target these banks, then I'm doing myself a favor if I target banks like the elite boutiques, which not as many Villanova kids are going to target. And I think that that worked out well for me in the end.
That's awesome. And then like talk to me a little bit about just like the numbers. Did you obviously it was a little more targeted strategy, so not as breadth, maybe not as much breadth, but would you say you had like a couple first rounds? Was it like five first rounds? How did it kind of pan out from, obviously it worked out. You're going to Evercore, so it's a good thing, but
Yeah.
talk to me a little bit about just like the funnel and how it looked. Was it like 10 first rounds or was it like smaller, like five?
Yeah, I mean, I think I got invites total for three first rounds, but I was really lucky that Evercore's was super early, so I was able to get it done pretty quick.
You didn't have to like go through.
Yeah,
You're like, oh, that's
yeah,
easy and done. I
yeah,
accept.
yeah, exactly.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So, and then talk to me a little bit about like your interview prep. Were you mocking a lot? Were you like the technicals hard for you, or was it because you're a quant guy, you picked them up really fast? Did you, yeah, talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean the technicals definitely. I knew Evercore had like the reputation, I guess, of being the like most technical interview you could possibly get on the street. So I guess that was like the more challenging part. I think that coming from Villanova, or generally what I've heard is that people like Villanova kids in general. They think that they're pretty personal kids. So I think that that definitely made me a little bit more confident about my behavioral. So therefore, that was why I focused a lot more on the technicals because it's like, all right, if I can prove that I can compete with these Ivy League kids in the technical aspect, I'm sure I can beat them out in the behavioral aspect. So I
Awesome.
think that I did a lot of mock interviews and I did a lot through Wall Street Oasis. I did a lot through like the research at our school, and I did a lot with just sitting in my dorm room with my friends, just going back and forth, like technical for technical, whatever it is. So
Did
I think that helped a
did
lot.
most of them get good placements too? Or
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're still going through it a little bit right now, but I think that most of them are doing pretty well, pretty reputable banks.
That's awesome, man. And then tell me a little bit about just like any kind of words of advice for people that are starting in a similar kind of seat where they're maybe they're sophomores at a non-target and they're thinking, hey, how do I approach this? Like in terms of splitting up their time? Because with the classes and everything, it's obviously it can get pretty overwhelming. I mean, doing 60, 70 calls, it's a lot.
Yeah.
You suggest they kind of focus on, or how would you suggest they approach it?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's probably like not what like I guess parents want to hear, but like there were definitely times where I was trying to get a networking call with maybe someone at Evercore or Guggenheim or something like that, like for weeks, and they said, "Oh, I can do this time," and I had class during that time, and I was like, "All right, like realistically, I'm not going to my class and taking this call right now." So I think that just being like relentless like that, and then I also think that honestly, what helped me out the most was just being smart about how I targeted things. Like again, like what I said about how like I realized that not a lot of kids from Villanova were going to try to target like Evercore, Guggenheim, Moelis, PWP, like these elite boutiques because they think that they don't have a chance.
Hmm.
So I realized that that just means that there's less competition if I really try hard at these banks, and I think that that helped out a lot. I also think that being, I guess, kind of creative in how I found connections. I remember, I think one of the biggest connections that helped me out a lot was that one of my friends here's sister had just recently become a recruiter at Evercore on the team that I ended up getting an internship at, and that was, I'm sure, a really good connection to have on the inside. So,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
just being smart about it.
Yeah, and just trying to like let everyone know what you're doing. They're like, oh, my sister just even having those
Yeah,
conversations, not keeping it to yourself, so you actually find out about those
yeah,
connections, and then
yeah,
being hungry enough to kind of follow up on them. I mean, the fact that you did that many calls means you were following up. You were, you built your networking funnel properly.
yeah,
Get those kind of first rounds. Those are very tough banks to get interviews at. So the fact that you weren't just leaning on alum is actually really impressive. So, anyways, congrats on all the success. Obviously, stay in touch. Let us know how we can be kind of helpful in your next steps and whether you're
Yeah.
ready for Evercore, steps after that. So, I appreciate
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. And thank you for all the help throughout the whole process. I really appreciate it.
it. Awesome.